Und es hat sich natürlich, eben damals sind es noch Zweitaktmotoren gewesen, ganz anders zum Fahren. Und zu dieser Zeit hat er gesagt, Traktionskontrolle war in der rechten Hand gewesen. Wir haben das Gefühl gehabt, wir müssen viel haben. Und wir haben im Prinzip, ja, da lachen sie im Publikum, die ältere Herrschaft, die kennen das. They know what you're talking about with traction control.
And the thing is, it's a very simple formula. Is that basically the reaction that I had to have on a 500 Grand Prix bike, not the high side, was here so that it wouldn't happen there. And the thing is, if I was late in reacting, it's too late. And so, you know, it's basically what you see in anticipating the movement. Yeah. It made you focus so hard and to be able to, again, anticipate.
Man hat sich wahnsinnig fokussieren und vorausschauen, damit man die Situationen, die auf einen zugekommen sind oder auf die man zugekommen ist, hat können entsprechend schon mit der Hand, also mit dem Gasgriff abfangen. Und wenn man das Sport gemacht hat, wenn man Sport reagiert hat, ist es effektiv Sport gewesen. Highsider Abflug.
Yeah, exactly. That is too late. You know, the bikes nowadays, and again, you know, traction control is something that's very good, especially for the average rider, because, you know, the bikes, the horsepower they have today, you know, it's something that will help you. If you're abrupt with the throttle, the electronics can help you so you don't get in too much trouble. You know, but a lot of riders would like to maybe go back a little ways. I know even a lot of people, younger riders I've talked to, younger riders, not just racers, just average riders. You know, there's a purity of you being in total control of what's going to happen. But again, you know, I ride bikes of every generation. You know, I can ride a bike 30 years ago, I ride the modern bikes. And, you know, everything has its place.
Also, meint, also Traktionskontrolle ist auf jeden Fall eine ganz gute Sache. Es hilft auch vielen normalen Fahrern oder auf der Straße, ihr Bike in extremen Situationen besser unter Kontrolle zu haben. Aber er sagt auch, er spürt, dass viele Fahrer heutzutage eigentlich gerne wieder ein bisschen zurückgehen, auch mit weniger Fahrhilfe würden auf die Strecke gehen. But the thing is, if you don't have any electronic devices, you're not as fast as the others. That's why everyone is using it.
Well, why? Yeah, but you couldn't ride a modern MotoGP bike without the electronics. It has, I mean, you have to have some. It's so much. I've ridden them. I've ridden the 990, the first V5. I've ridden the 800. The only Honda I haven't ridden in the last 35 years is the new one. You know, the new 1000. But I understand why why it's used. And again, it's one of those things that. It's just how technology has moved along, and it would be very difficult to ride them without it at 260 horsepower at the weight they are. But you know, again, I understand exactly, you know, why it works. It's just that one of the things, this is the thing, one of the things that riding the bike in that generation 30 years ago, and growing up as I did in my yard, is I explained it like this. They said, what was traction control like when you were a kid? I said, well, I didn't have the electronics. And so, as an example, in my yard, we had over 200 trees. And in the fall, the leaves would fall. It would rain. And the ground underneath the leaves would be wet. The only way that I could know how wet it was I would look and pay attention to the color of the leaves so closely, because that would determine my lean angle. Because if I had too much lean angle and it was wet, I'd hit a tree, and that hurt, right? So I didn't want to crash. And so, again, it forced me to really pay attention to trust my instincts. And in that respect, I'm very thankful I grew up in that time.
Also ist sehr dankbar, dass in der Zeit aufgewachsen ist, wo es die elektronische Fahrhilfe noch nicht gegeben hat. Aber versteht, dass es die gibt und dass man halt mit den immer stärkeren Bikes auch immer mehr halt so Unterstützung braucht, um die überhaupt zu fahren. Es ist halt einfach die Entwicklung von der Zeit. Aber er hat ein schönes Beispiel erzählt von seiner Kindheit, wo er in seinem Garten rumgefahren ist. Dort hat er etwa 200 Bäume gehabt. Und er hat gesagt, im Herbst, wenn die Blätter runtergefallen sind und wenn es nass war, er hat gesagt, die einzige Möglichkeit, zum Vermeiden, auszurutschen und in die Bäume reinzufahren, ist genau zu schauen, welche Farbe die Blätter haben. Weil je nachdem, wie nass sie sind, dann hat sie eine andere Farbe gehabt und darum einen anderen Reibungskoeffizient. Also, wie gesagt, in den Baum reinfahren hat weh gemacht, also hat er das verhindern. So war es halt gewesen. Nice story. Yes, and what are the changes in the racing? Not from the material racing. I think you won on two in two categories. So you ended one and you jumped on the other bike in the same day. Now nowadays impossible.
Yeah, I think that Mark they had asked him about it, and he had considered it a few days, at the end of last year or a week, and he said no. Valentino had maybe considered it in 01, the last year of the 500 and the 250, but it was, like I said, I just was I had a very good team, and it was something that would be a great challenge, and it was, and I was able to do it. Nowadays with Moto, it would be, like Moto 2 and MotoGP. Someone asked me, could someone do it? I said, yeah, I think Mark could do it. Does he want to? That's different, But I think he certainly has the ability, because what it takes is the ability to be able to change like that. You don't have time, because at that top level, you can't take a whole race to get used to the other bike. You have to be able to do it in one lap, and Mark can adapt, and it's about adapting.
Also, meine Frage war auch, wäre es heute auch möglich, dass zum Beispiel ein Fahrer in zwei Klassen in der WM fährt, also Moto 2 und MotoGP. Er sagt, es wäre theoretisch möglich und er würde Marc Marquez zum Beispiel auch die Fähigkeit zubestimmen, der könnte das. Allerdings sagt er 2 Punkte. Das erste, will der Marc das überhaupt? Er meint, er will es nicht. Sie haben schon darüber geredet. Und das zweite ist, das ist die schwierige Herausforderung. Er sagt, das Entscheidende ist die Fähigkeit, wenn man vom einen Bike aufs andere geht, dass man kann sofort umschalten kann. Weil es ist eine andere Serie, es sind nicht nur andere Motorräder, sondern das ganze Rennen ist anders. Und man muss können, man hat nicht das ganze Rennen Zeit, um sich anzupassen und daran zu gewöhnen. Man muss in dem Moment, wo man auf der TÜV sitzt, muss man schon 100% genau dabei sein. Und das ist wahrscheinlich die Herausforderung, die heute sehr schwierig wäre. But it would be very interesting if someone would do it.
Yeah, it would be.
I mean, it would be hard. But okay, Marcus, I mean, he won everything, Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP, but someone else could be won it.
Well, it's like when Mark broke my record 2 years ago. I was the youngest world champion, and I did that in '83 when I beat Kenny, and I held that record for 30 years, at 21, and before that it was Mike Hillwood in the 60s who had the youngest world champion ever in 500 or MotoGP. And, records are made to be broken. And so I was, 2 years ago when Mark had the chance, I thought that was great. And he's a great kid. And you always want someone, if they're going to break a record, to do it in a unique way and be special. And certainly he is.
Also, sagt, Rekorde sind ja da, um gebrochen zu werden. Es ist alles möglich. Wir müssen vielleicht einfach noch ein bisschen Geduld haben und vielleicht gibt es noch Reglementsänderungen, aber es kann alles Mögliche passieren. Da sind wir gespannt drauf. Well, that records can be broken, you need new riders. And there's one kid that you really are helping him. His name is Andy Verdoya.
Yeah.
Andy Verdoya.
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
Well, he's a young French kid, and again, I have schools in Le Castellet and Paul Ricard, and last year, he's friends with Bernard Garcia and the group that does the track day where I do my schools in. And he came along, and after meeting him and his family, his mom and dad, it took me back to when I was a kid and their support, their willingness to do whatever it takes to help him. And this kid's got a great heart and soul. You can just see it in him, and he works so hard, and he goes out. And at the beginning of last year, they didn't really have a lot of support, or the year before, and he would come and basically just ride at the track day, and I started watching him and just talking to him, and again, it's at that level, at that age, it's about belief in yourself. And
how old is he?
He was 12, 12. And so last year he went on to win the Moto 4 championship in Spain, and with basically not much support, and so you like to see that. He has a lot of passion, he wants to do well, his family support, and in Spain they have so much support, and they help the Spanish riders. They're trying to do that also in the United States now, and each country kind of needs to step up and help their riders. That's to be able to get to that next level, and we're just trying to help Andy.
So how did you meet him? Was he a student in your school?
Well, he wasn't. My schools, I run at a track day at 4G and at Paul Ricard. So he was there just riding his little 125, and he goes out and he rides against the bigger bikes, and I was watching him, and he's just so you know, he was good, and you could see, and he just, you know, riding against the bigger bikes, and he's always racing his kids older, and I understand that because that's how I grew up. I was always racing against people a lot older, and they try to intimidate you, and so I just wanted to help him because I felt a connection to him.
Er hat jetzt gerade Geschichte erzählt vom Andy Verdoya. Das ist ein 12-jähriger Knirps. Er hat ihn entdeckt, er ist schon am Rennenfahren gewesen, und er hat ihn total an sich selber erinnert, als er in dem Alter war und wie er gekämpft hat und ehrgeizig war. Er hat das Talent gesehen. Der Bub hat nicht so viel Unterstützung gehabt bis dorthin. Wir haben mit der Familie zusammen geredet und er hat ein bisschen seine Hebel in Bewegung gesetzt. Und es ist auch immer so, last year he won. Und der 12-Jährige hat letztes Jahr die Moto 4 Meisterschaft. Moto 4, ja. Ja, Moto 4 Meisterschaft in Spanien gewonnen. How old were his combatants?
Well, everybody else was, I think, 13, 14, 15 years old.
Alle anderen sind 13, 14 gewesen, und er mit 12 hat er allen den Meister gezeigt und gewonnen. Und das ist natürlich schön, wenn er so etwas da entdeckt und kann mithelfen. So we should just remember or store the name, because in a few years he might be the new Marquez. We don't know. You never know.
That's what we hope. Yep.
Okay, Freddie.
Yes.
Fast Freddie, thank you very much for being here. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.
And yes, I wish you all the best for this anniversary year.
Yes.
I wish you also a lot of very interesting and beautiful encounters with other people.
Thank you.
And have fun here at the Swiss-moto.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Die Motorsport Schweiz Live Lounge wird Ihnen präsentiert von D-Max, Tissot, motoricado.ch, Rocker, der interregionalen Blutspende SRK und der Schweizer Paraplegiker Stiftung.